time now to invite our other day one morning speaker, Leon Paauwe from IAG, who may just have the coolest surname I've ever heard of, who will be telling us more about the world resuming with international travel this year. It was fascinating to hear how they have leveraged their partnerships to prepare for the foot traffic at airports. Welcome Leon and Daughter, who is also back with us. Leon, Daughter, great to have you here with us today.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Fantastic. So I might kick us off with a quick question from our delegates that we didn't quite get around to earlier. One of the questions that was asked was, standardization is a must, but it's not easy to execute on scale. How do you do this at IAG?
Yeah, standardization is very much still in the beginning in that sense at IAG. So we have a very flat structure, group structure, so there is quite some independence at the airlines themselves.
Yes.
So they have run their businesses more or less by themselves. And particularly one has always resisted any standardization. So
interesting.
So with most of the other ones we can work on standardization.
Yes.
And we started working on that, but one of them is not willing to cooperate. So it's also not so easy to come to run the best practices across the airlines. There is also a cultural difference
differences
in our group.
Yeah.
In our group.
Fair enough, and stakeholder engagement must play a huge part of that.
Yeah, it's lots of stakeholder engagement. But we started at least with the journey on standardization. We started defining where to standardize on. We have implemented a team of operational excellence. They will map out the processes, but more from an end-to-end perspective, to really see where we need to standardize and where does it impact in the end-to-end process.
Fantastic, thanks for that. And Daughter, your kind of observations of Leon's session, do you have any questions for our guest?
Loads of questions. It was so interesting, but also your kind of opening statement of like describing how 2/3 of the top line fell away overnight.
Yeah.
And after that, you talked about how disruption was actually a really good thing, and it was on my mind. Did it take a long time before people said, "Oh, this is actually an opportunity," or were people in shock, or what happened? What made people come out of that cloud and start acting?
Yeah, in the beginning it was a big shock what happened, of course, and it was difficult also for people themselves because we asked people also to contribute to the company, and we had also quite some people leaving as well. Yeah. So that was in the beginning very difficult. But we saw other businesses like our cargo business and the loyalty business, they grew tremendously. And cargo was not only by just flying boosters and vaccines.
No.
It was much more than that. So they could accelerate and they could keep a constant revenue stream.
Yeah.
And in GBS we focused a lot on working capital and negotiating with suppliers and looking at our supplier base as well. So when we did the SAP implementation, we did already a 40% supplier base reduction. During COVID, our procurement did another 20% of reduction in our supplier base. And I think there is still more to go. Yeah. But it brings also new opportunities in my view as well, doing things differently.
I think it does. And you did mention the working capital hub as one of the features. Was that a new thing, and how did that come about?
Yeah, because normally, like I mentioned to Sarah a little bit ago, that we have a very flat top structure. So the top of the group level is flat. So there is lots of autonomy in the airlines itself. But if you then go into pandemic, you need to start managing on group level everything, and you need to look at your working capital, your cash flow, and GBS naturally has access to all the systems. So in that sense. Yeah.
So was it natural, or how did you get the inspiration to do that?
And we could look at suppliers across the different airlines as well, for example. Yeah. If we needed to negotiate with suppliers, otherwise it would be, and we have the ability to negotiate with them immediately for the whole group.
Yeah. So do you see like the strength of the GBS sitting there in the middle? Do you see other areas where you can do something differently because you're organized like that?
Yeah, good question.
It's a hard one, right?
Yeah.
Because we're constantly looking for areas where GPS can add value in different ways than if it was just a regular centralized accounts payable team.
True.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, that's why I mentioned also driving we want to become the data analytics powerhouse of the group. So we have access to all group data, so we can drive value creation. We can look, and we have examples that, for example, planes, if you use an older plane to a certain airport, certain location, you might have high taxes.
Yeah.
So it's better maybe to put this plane to another location and put the newest planes to the other location.
That's really interesting, because
taxes.
that's a concrete business challenge, right?
That's a concrete business challenge.
Yes.
And we want to move into that area.
Yeah.
So it's more moving from also the FP&A part. They need to move to a more extended planning and analysis kind of.
Can you easily find the right talent to do that? I mean, do you upskill? Do you train? Do you hire? What do you do to make sure that people feel comfortable and capable?
Yes. So in that sense, sometimes it's difficult to find the right people. In certain areas, we have more difficulties than in other areas. In finance, it's rather easy still to find people. At procurement, we have a bit more issues with finding the people, but in finance it's rather easy, but we still need to upskill them because many people come from different backgrounds. And what other companies call FP&A, to be honest, that's more number crunching and making information out of data instead of coming with actionable business insight, which can drive the business to move them in a certain direction.
Actually having that conversation with data, having data to tell you something.
So our FP&A people are not very much involved in the interaction with their business. So only with the finance part of the business, but not with the business itself. And they need to move up. They need to move up the value chain.
I mean, and I think your examples are very concrete cases of what we call moving up the value chain. We have talked about it for such a long time without really being able to put concrete examples to it.
True.
Talking about moving up the value chain, we always look at technology as an enabler. And one of the questions that came in from our delegates was around how you're using systems and different tools to build that control tower view. Do you have any insights to share there, Leon?
Yeah, for control tower, we're first looking at data because we need to have real-time data also for a control tower.
Yes.
So currently we are building the data lake, or we're halfway, but it's still weekly data. So we need to first make the step to daily real-time data.
Yeah, real-time data, real-time decisions, as we were discussing before.
Yes. That's important. So if you want to have a real control tower, you should be able to act immediately. To get, and then you need to look into predictive analytics as well. You want to see what's going to be a problem tomorrow. What you need to do now to make sure that there is no.
Anticipate the future. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Leon, today here in the studio. Daughter, yourself as well.